Though I perhaps still find the marketing path of what we've had to engage with this project thus far a bit unusual from what's common. Usually a company, a major studio like Sony perhaps, would go with a trailer first and then later promos or clips or featurettes, and in this case it was a featurette that debuted first for the Pope's Exorcist. To be fair though, it did give us a bit of an insight in regards to the movie. It's a story that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, and I do happen to engage quite often with inspired by true story type works. I like watching biographical accounts, even if they're maybe retellings, they're not necessarily a documentary, and I'm open to both. I generally like the opportunity to learn. And with a story like the Pope's Exorcist, it's a rather unusual release in what I tend to engage with on a general level. Though I do tend to be more of admittedly a thriller guy, I am open to the atmosphere of a horror film, but I will fully confess, as I have many times, I am a bit sensitive in particular with just, my content taste. Everybody perhaps has their thresholds. I don't necessarily engage with Exorcist movies quite often, if ever. It's, not just based on my faith. I've made it no secret on this channel that I'm a Christian, so perhaps I am a bit indifferent to do I really want to humor a film like this that is, in some part showcasing, time or exposure with dark spirits and stuff, even if it's just like a simulation. Again, like a threshold thing. Even just, personal tastes, I kind of make my decision on that note with most releases. But with the Pope's Exorcist, admittedly based on the featurette, the real story approach is tempting, and Russell Crowe, I'm a big fan of his. He's an exceptionally talented actor. And this story has, again, a unique dimension in particular because of that true focus. That I watch it, I'm like, it's very competently filmed, in my opinion, going off of that feature and what we had to learn about it and what we've seen. I might actually watch this. We'll see. Again, not my usual take. I think of films along the lines of demon possession type stuff, as well as they're spoken of in quality, perhaps, with some projects. Let's say, for example, the Conjuring series, or maybe some ones I've covered previously. What was that one that came out years ago? There's an older possession release. There's been a couple, like Isabel and whatever that other one was, the kid and the dad. I forget the name of it. Anyway, projects like that, I'm generally mixed on watching. Because again, it's like, do I really want to entertain a type of presence like that? I want to be able to sleep at night. But a story like the Pope's Exorcist, especially on learning about apparently this real exorcist that worked for the Catholic Church, I guess, for a particular pope who, from what I understood, had 31 years performing 100,000 exorcisms? That's more than. That's just crazy to me. How does anybody endure that? Spiritually speaking, that would be... I couldn't see anybody taking that job willingly. I don't know. But some thrill seeker, perhaps. I don't know what Father Gabriele's Amorth's reasons were. I'm like, there must have been, maybe it's just that spiritual passion. Perhaps that could have been a large part of it, being like, I want to see people restored from demon possession, which is a real thing. It can be. Certainly has been in history and in biblical articulation. Maybe you had something that just really cares about human beings and the spiritual, that was a very sensitive issue for them. And they were like, if I want to, well, in my life, my purpose is, do God's work through, exorcising demons. I'm just sitting back being like, in terms of my career choices, it's not where I would jump on personally. I don't know how many people would, but all due respect to Father Amorth, or Gabriele Amorth, it's a curious story. And I do find it, again, like I said, in approaches, I'm actually in an unusual space because I'm like, I'm tempted to watch this one. I don't usually have this type of vertigo possession stories. Let's gauge the trailer, though. We started with the featurette, which I thought gave a great background to it, so you already learned a bit. Maybe this is a first exposure for you. The featurette was pretty good, but maybe, this is the ideal way to watch it, where you have the trailer first. Now that we have it, came out literally a day later. Like I said, still an odd marketing strategy, but I appreciated the opportunity to learn, a bit more informed now going in with this project than maybe I would be if I were just watching the trailer at first. Although the synopsis is the same and it's as in-depth as it was. Let's take a look at the Pope's Exorcist and see what this has to offer in full. So it's nearly a 3-minute trailer. This is going to be a very good look.
Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it.
Did he allow that?
Again, it's filmed very well. I just don't tend to normally watch films along the demon possession line. So I'm still like, okay.
On the night of June 4th, you performed an exorcism.
Like I said, valiantly and faithfully staged to films in that genre.
The majority of cases do not require an exorcism.
98% are recommended by him to doctors and psychiatrists.
The other 2%, I call it evil.
We have more questions for you, Father Amorth.
You have a problem with me? You talk to my boss, the Pope.
There's a case that needs your attention.
Ew.
I'm here to help, Julia.
Well,
Wrong phrase!
Take caution. There are secrets buried there.
tread warily if you're like me.
Is the Vatican sealed?
Know what you're stepping into as an experience.
This demon before. The Vatican covered it up. We need to find out why.
You've been played. You talk the bait.
Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it.
Did he allow that?
I'd be doing the same.
If the devil possessed the soul of the Pope's exorcist, who will defend you?
My faith does not require defense.
I'm still debating, admittedly, how I want to watch this. Based on quality, I do feel that for those of you who would want to see this in theaters, and again, I understand the temptation, it would fit the big screen. But I'm still thinking of my threshold, because again, I admittedly don't tend to watch many demon possession movies, and I'm like, I would like a remote if things get too unnerving. I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, in terms of what I've personally observed in Exorcist-type films, and even if maybe I haven't watched projects in full, let's say, for example, The Conjuring, I've seen clips. I have. And again, I can say a work is quite competently made without necessarily engaging with it personally. And those films certainly are on their staging. There are shots here that are very well presented. I love the atmosphere to it in terms of a horror level, and the story seems much more complex than I was aware of. It reminds me actually a lot of The Conjuring, to be honest with you. I mean, again, I'm not necessarily the most astute on the stories of, I think, what is it, Ed and Lorraine Warren? I think those are the names of the people that, because again, if you're not familiar, The Conjuring is inspired by true stories as well, of people that dealt with, I believe, as a business practice, maybe, / I don't know if it was a faith pursuit, but they were heavily involved with demon exorcism. Again, it's not a career I would personally take. I mean, you can probably see how I'm feeling right now, right? Like, yeah, you probably wouldn't last. Not for more than 100,000, very least. Like, I would need a detox. And I'm sure probably Father Gabriele Amorth pursued such opportunities and probably took vacations when permitted. The story is a lot more a mystery and intrigue than I thought it did originally on that featurette. There's a lot more that's displayed here that I wasn't made aware of upon that first initial tease. And while it started out, I'm like, okay, we've kind of seen the baseline of this before through that featurette. It has a lot to offer in terms of a fresh presence. I mean, again, like I said, that mystery tone wasn't made clear to me, at least on the featurette. There's a lot more going on. The mystery of maybe is the Vatican covering things up. Well, they have in the past in regards to other matters. Well, I don't know necessarily the Vatican. Well, maybe, but I can't speak as faithfully on that point, but, well, the Catholic Church admittedly does have a history that, now I'm not trying to shame Catholics, but we all know the Spotlight story. So, but in the realm of demon exorcisms, maybe there's, again, this is inspired by true stories. That is a question as well, considering this type of work. Faithfulness. I would imagine for a project that seems to be as competent as this one is, that you never know sometimes, right? Not every translation, especially on true stories, might be perfect. Sometimes details are omitted or tailored in structure to best suit storytelling styles. For example, you look at maybe the differences between a television series versus a book series, or a book, maybe just one release, and they're vastly different. You can sometimes go into far more detail in a book release than you would be able to on the screen, or you have to manifest said details in a different manner. Or some particular facets of the story in the book form might not necessarily translate best to a dramatized picture. Even amid the entertainment adaptation space themselves, you have perhaps projects that might let's say film versus streaming, right? Runtime durations. There's differences there. Streaming services sometimes give you better space for certain book adaptations to flourish because there's more time to spend with the characters and the story and particular facets where you might not necessarily need to make so many omissions. It's marketing itself as inspired by true story, and that does carry with it some weight and expectation. So we'll see on the delivery, and for those of you who are familiarized with the stories of Father, and I guess the experiences, but many of them, of Father Gabriele Amorth, I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments if you want to speak to that. I'd love some feedback on perhaps how you feel about this particular picture. Do you feel it's being faithfully portrayed? I think competently in terms of demon possession fare, yes, it is. I think as an enthralling horror film, the quality is quite good. I would believe, again, if Russell Crowe's acting attributions, that would warrant such. Just his presence, I think, alone carries, again, weight and expectation. And it seems the project is producing a good match. I'm still debating, again, like I said, I'm finding it tempting to watch this. I really am, because I love true stories. And where I would normally make exceptions on, well, I wouldn't normally watch Exorcist-type projects, and I haven't. I might watch this at home with a remote control at the ready if I need it for the fast forward button. I mean, like I said, everybody's got their threshold. But I'm generally curious to watch this and to learn more about his stories. Because it seems like a very dramatic historical tale, if we want to call it that. Maybe that's not necessarily the best wording to use. But there's just something about this release that I watch it again. Maybe it's just on the quality alone, or Russell Crowe's attributions, or the depth of the story, or the sensationalist experience to a degree of what's familiar. That sensationalist, even that might be the wrong word, but maybe dramatic is. Or it's a rather unusual story from our day-to-day experiences. I listen to this and I'm like, it feels particularly fresh to what I normally view. That I find the Pope's Exorcist, in a way, sort of yearning at me to be seen. Maybe it's just that, again, temptation to want to learn more. And I do, but that's a big draw for me when it comes to people's stories generally. And for Father Gabriele Amorth, and perhaps the story at its center with its supposed, as the trailer articulates, mystery and intrigue, perhaps some darker shaded plots, again, who's hiding secrets, what's going on, It's a story that immediately, to me, has drive. And I do find myself in a space, I'm like, I have a feeling that I really don't want to avoid engaging with this. I don't necessarily want to pass it, perhaps maybe as I do other works along the demon possession lines that are maybe more fictional in nature, because this is a true story. I'm really curious. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.